I want to thank everyone for coming to honor Barbara. Her family from California, Dr. Haley Coker and Haley's aunt, Janet McCullough, who was Barb's first cousin, Barb's classmates from GW and Yale Law School, Barbara's colleagues from Jones Day, the Solicitor General's Office, and Legal Aid, and the board members of Barbara's Foundation, Jeff Lampkin, Sarah Wilson, Dr. Haley Coker, Linda Chiamento, and Sally Gordon. This month, as we know, is the 50th anniversary of the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that went into effect in July of 1965. President Johnson, a few days after the assassination of John Kennedy, said in his speech to the joint houses of Congress that he would give everything he had not to be standing here today. I too feel that way, and would give everything I have and more to have Barbara be here to accept this award, which she would have mightily protested receiving. The passage of the Civil Rights Act would affect Barbara and me profoundly. In June of 1965, my dad died, and when I returned to Columbia that fall, I needed to find a job to help me pay expenses and tuition. So I went to the Columbia Job Placement Office for assistance. I was sent that September to a private school on the Upper West Side to apply for a position to help with after-school activities. I remember being interviewed on the steps of the school and being asked what was my religion. I answered proudly Jewish, knowing why the question was asked. I was told that the school did not hire Jews. I knew from all the publicity about the passage of the Civil Rights Act that this was wrong. I went back to the Columbia Placement Office and told them what happened, that it was wrong, that it was illegal. I was told not to make a fuss, and that the school would find me another job. I don't know, even to this day, whether I am madder about the discrimination or being told not to make a fuss. I shared that story with Barbara when we met on our first date, and how it stayed with me and led me to go to law school and thereafter to work in the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, where I tried many cases in Mississippi and Alabama. Our desire to address social injustice was a common bond between us. Thereafter, when I went into private practice, Barbara would joke that Jerry was making the money so she could do the good. I have now found out that in trying to do both, it is much harder doing the good. As President Kennedy's death led in good part to the passage of the Civil Rights Act, Barbara's death led to the creation of her foundation. With the support of my law firm, Drinker Biddle, the foundation has a dual mission. The foundation makes grants to pro bono organizations in support of their social justice litigation, and to date, the foundation has made 25 grants, totaling close to $200,000. The foundation, also with the assistance of many lawyers at Drinker Biddle, has brought several high-impact cases working with pro bono organizations, including one with Legal Aid, that resulted in significant amounts of additional food stamps to persons in the District of Columbia. Very recently, the foundation, working with the ABA Death Penalty Project, represented 16 death row inmates in Mississippi in an effort to get them post-conviction collateral review. That litigation was able to start that post-conviction review process for 9 of them, including a new trial for 1 of them. 7 of those 16 already have been executed. Robin Marr of the ABA Death Penalty Project, who worked so closely with us under the auspices of the foundation, is here tonight, and I would ask her to stand. Robin? Barbara always had a mind to do public service. She ran Senator McGovern's campaign in Fresno County when she was 23. That county was one of the few that McGovern won. She worked for Senator Cranston as a press aide while going to GW. Ultimately, Barbara went to the Solicitor General's office from a partnership at Jones Day to argue Supreme Court cases for 6 years, where she argued 18 cases, including 2 on the same day. Barbara's favorite story, as I was telling her classmates from Yale Law School tonight, about her time in the SG's office, was when she had to call a lawyer in Fresno, where she grew up, about sharing argument time in a case. It turned out that Barbara had worked for this lawyer as a secretary when she was in college. When Barbara called him, she reminded him who she was, and he said that it was wonderful that she made it to DC to work as a secretary in this SG's office. He got 5 minutes of argument time. And the Justice Department won that case. Barbara's time in the SG's office and at legal aid led to her receiving the Rex Lee Award for excellence in appellate advocacy in the public sector. Many Solicitor Generals had received this award in the past. Rex Lee was a former Solicitor General, and the award named for him was given by Brigham Young, where he had been the dean of the law school. Rex also died of cancer and was a law clerk for Justice White, like Barbara. And Rex and I actually worked on a case together before he got ill. Chief Justice Roberts presented the award, where at the ceremony, Barbara was recognized as one of the finest appellate advocates of her generation. Very few people at the time knew how ill Barbara was. In her acceptance speech for the award, Barbara said the following: "My career path grew out of my church's work with young people and families in the inner area of the district. As I learned of the difficulties that poor people encountered in their contacts with landlords, government agencies, and the local courts, I began to think about how I could use my skills as an appellate lawyer to their benefit. Happily, the Legal Aid Society was thinking along the same lines to start an appellate project with goals of shaping the law in DC affecting people in poverty. This required both of us, and especially Legal Aid, to make somewhat of a leap of faith. I would have to be able to identify the sorts of cases to take to the local court of appeals. I would need to be able to relate to a very different client community, real people facing many life challenges, only one of which we might be able to address. I needed to be able to prepare a brief without the assistance of paralegal. It worked out surprisingly well. We've had some significant victories: expanding fair housing rights, protecting women from abuse, and correcting some practices of the local administrative court. Barbara always said that you had to make a fuss to make a difference. And a fuss she did make at Legal Aid. That was what Barbara loved so much about Legal Aid, that it daily made a fuss for powerless and indigent people in the District of Columbia. Barbara would be, I am quite sure, happy to know that Legal Aid continues to make a fuss. Thank you on behalf of my late wife, Barbara McDowell.